In a lot of ways, the ears are the most forgotten feature of the face because we don't really think about them that much. But for that reason, I feel like it makes the ear easier to draw because we don't have an expectation. So let's first talk about some of the different parts of the ear that we all have, even though all of our ears might look a little different. So the first is the lobe. Okay, I love to just go ding, 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 ding. So we have the lobe here. Then we have this outer cartilage part called the helix that people will often pierce. Inside here we have the anti-helix. This little notch that's sticking out here that we all have is called the tragus. And then there are a couple other things that we'll all have. We'll all have an opening here in the hole. We'll all have something that looks kind of like a V up here, and we'll all have some sort of ridge. Going back to the lobes, some people will have attached lobes, some people will have unattached lobes. So just being aware of that when you're looking at the ear. Let's go ahead and start to draw it. As I often say, it's best to start from general to specific. So instead of just going straight in and drawing the lobe or trying to draw this shape, I first want to mark out the general shape of the ear. So with my pencil, I'm just sort of tracing over what I see, and it's sort of an elongated oval is really what it is. So I'll start off with something like that. I'll draw a little darker so that you can see. Now I may want to start refining different parts. So I'm going to take a look at this upper ridge here, and I'm going to try to define that more accurately. Okay. Establishing the thickness. And coming down and around. So I can see that this is too wide, but that's fine. I'm going to erase it. Okay. Then I'm going to draw this shadow shape here to help me. So the ear is just a bunch of tiny little parts woven together. So the more shapes you draw, the more accurate it's going to look. So now working my way down, I'm going to draw this outside shape to give me this. Down and around. Then I'm going to draw this shape, so thinking of this as one almost curved triangular shape. Coming up and down. Okay. Then moving down to this larger cavity here, the opening. Down, down, and around. Okay. Then moving on down here and defining the width of this part. Like that. Okay. And then let's go ahead and mark this part. Coming down. Then drawing the whole of the ear, so thinking about what does this shape look like. Up, out. Okay. And then from here, I can now draw in the lobe. So really looking at what that lobe shape is. Coming back up here, looking for this angle, down, and coming up. Okay. And now I've got my basic ear shape. So again, really look for all the little shadow shapes to help you. I could actually add this one in right now. The more you look for shapes, the much easier this is going to be. Don't just go pink. That's not enough for what we're doing. Okay? So at this point, I can go ahead and erase any of the lines that I don't need. So any of those initial marking lines, any sketchy lines. It's probably good for now. Then I'm going to go ahead and start shading. I like to shade with my darkest value first so that I'm establishing the complete value range right away. So I'll start with this shadow up here, using the side of my pencil and shading. Then I'm going to come down here since that's the same value. And as I'm shading all of these, I should be redrawing, meaning that if you see that something is wrong, there's still always time to fix it. Don't just say, well, now I'm shading, so I don't want to fix it. Always fix it. Then coming down here below, and again, redrawing that shape, asking myself, is that correct? Shading. And then I'll add in some of the other darker values I see. Okay, and now I can start shading sort of my mid-tone values. So in here, right, in here, going around those highlight shapes. And up, and out. And even though I'm narrating and I'm saying I'm shading here, I'm looking for this, those are really the things that I think about when I'm drawing something. When you're drawing something, you're an investigator. You're looking, you're constantly searching. And that's why sometimes it's really tiring to draw, because it's not a passive act. It's really an active act of looking. Okay, then might go to this ridge here. And since the edge of the ear is curved, notice that I'm not shading like this. I want to shade following the curve or the contour of the ear. So I'm making little marks that are following that shape. Okay. I can see that this is a bit long, so I'm going to trim that. And now I'm going to start shading the lower edge of the earlobe. Before you go to sleep, let's use the power of video magic, and I'll complete this in a moment. Let's review the steps of drawing the ear. The first thing that you want to do is mark out the general shape of the overall ear. So 1, mark general shape. Number 2 would be to start refining those shapes, right? So look at your ear and where do you see different positive and negative shapes, shadow shapes, highlight shapes, and mark those in starting either from top to bottom or from bottom to top. What you don't want to do is start drawing here, then drawing here, then drawing here, then drawing here, because then when you get into the middle, if one of these proportions or measurements isn't right, you'll have to do the thing all over again. So start from the top going down, or from the bottom, going up. And then once you're happy with your shape, then and only then do you go into shading, starting with your darks first and ending with your highlights.